Once a gateway to the New World, Hamburg is a popular destination for millions of tourists every year. And rightfully so. From the calm waters of the Elbe River shaping the city's history, to the modern glitz of its newest structures, as well as its vibrant social scene.
Hamburg is a pulsating, multifaceted city, and today we will explore its 4 very distinct faces. So whether you're into historical architecture, calming nature, shiny modern buildings, or prefer the cool and hip things in life, Hamburg has you covered.
But before we start, let's quickly cover some basics. The Federal Republic of Germany comprises 16 constituent states, 3 of which are city-states: Berlin, Bremen, and Hamburg. The latter 2 refer to themselves as free Hanseatic cities because of their medieval history as members of the Hanseatic League. The Free Hanseatic City of Hamburg is the 2nd largest city in Germany after Berlin and also the 3rd largest port in Europe, despite not lying directly on the northern sea coast. Hamburg is actually situated about 100 kilometers away from the shore on the banks of the river Elbe.
And let's also get this off the table. While the inhabitants of Hamburg are called Hamburgers, the connection between the food and the city has never been verified. And now that we know where we are, let's jump right into the 4 faces of Hamburg.
Although it only opened in 2017, the silhouette of the Elbphilharmonie building has quickly become somewhat of an icon of the city's skyline.
It was built on top of an old warehouse building from the 60s, which you can still see clearly underneath. It houses 3 concert venues, a hotel, numerous restaurants, and more. The plaza in the middle of the complex also allows access to a public viewing platform, which is definitely worth a visit for some use of the harbor and the nearby Hafen city.
A new ambitious urban development project, the Hafen City Hamburg, is a brand new residential and business quarter. Foundations for it were laid in 2000, and the quarter is scheduled to be completed soon, in 2025. Stunning examples of modern architecture would be the Marco Polo Tower from 2009 and the Unilever House, housing the headquarters of the multinational conglomerate. On a different side of the quarter, you can find the new building of the Spiegel Publishing House. And where the Elbphilharmonie resembles a hoisted sail for some and wavy waters for others, the Dockland office building's clear inspiration by a ship design is unquestionable. It also offers a viewing terrace on its roof, with beautiful views of the port. Dockland is a popular destination for locals and tourists alike.
Visiting this building is also a wonderful opportunity to take advantage of Hamburg's public ferry system.
Hamburg is not only modern, Hamburg has the power to bring you back in time. From the Middle Ages through its maritime heyday to the recent history of the last century.
Probably the most famous historical complex in Hamburg is the UNESCO-protected district of Speicherstadt.
This literal city of warehouses stands on a foundation of oak logs in Hamburg's port, built with a similar technique as Venice, which it faintly resembles. It was constructed between 1883 and 1927 as a special free zone where goods could be traded without paying customs. Now, it houses a number of museums, including the Museum of Coffee, Museum of Spices, and the famous and endearing World of Miniatures. So, get a fresh cup of joe, buy some beans and spices to bring home, and don't miss any of its iconic views like the view of Wasserschloss or the nearby Deichstraße.
With the half-timber buildings and Baroque facades, Deichstraße is one of the last remaining examples of urban architecture from before 1842, making these one of the oldest buildings in the city.
If that's not enough old and truly historical houses for you, then don't miss the Krameramtsstuben, apartments built in the 17th century for the widows of deceased members of the Grocers Guild.
And I mean it, don't miss them, because they're quite easy to miss if you don't know where to look.
To continue our journey through Hamburg's maritime past, we don't have to go far. The traditional ships in Sandtorhafen, traditional ship harbor, are a perfect way to go.
Additionally, a wide array of maritime-themed museums and monuments can be found in the Hafen area, like this one behind me commemorating a famous local pirate. But if we want to go a little bit further back in history, we're gonna have to go up.
a Baroque gem that offers unbeatable views of the city, the famous St. Michael's Church, a place to get perspective on both history and the city itself. Another church in Hamburg with amazing views is the St. Petra, Hamburg's oldest church, where you can earn your views after a whopping 544 steps to the top.
The Old Town Hamburg around the church is where some of its other historical buildings are situated, like the impressive Neo-Renaissance Rathaus or Hamburg City Hall right behind me. Not only that, but also the other UNESCO-protected area, the Kontorhausviertel.
An architectural highlight from the 1920s and 30s, Kontorhausviertel is a prime example of the era of the so-called brick expressionism. In this traditional mercantile quarter, one building stands out above others, the Chile House. Built almost 100 years ago by one of the richest Hamburgers of the time, it is truly one of Hamburg's most impressive buildings. Yet another building, the shape of which is supposed to resemble a ship with its very sharp point. The Chile House is a perfect place to take some good photos and relax in one of its cafes. And lastly, no tour of the historical parts of an important German city would be complete without mention of the World Wars, especially World War II. In Hamburg, like elsewhere in Germany and other places in Europe, the Stolpersteine on the streets commemorate the victims of Nazi extermination.
And just like many other German cities, a significant part of Hamburg was destroyed during the war by Allied bombings. One of those destroyed buildings has been turned into a memorial.
Not only can you visit a museum dedicated to the bombings and their historical context in the crypt of the St. Nikolai Memorial, but you can also visit yet another viewing platform on the spire and compare historical photos of Hamburg to the present.
And now, through a musical history transition, let's explore yet another side of Hamburg, its cool and hip side. It was after all here where none other than the Beatles got their musical start in the early 60s. And what it started was, the legacy of the British band is commemorated at the Beatles Club, right at the start of the famous Reeperbahn.
One of the most famous party streets in Europe, the Reeperbahn attracts locals and tourists with its flashing neon lights. Bars, clubs, theaters, musicals, live music venues, everything a partygoer needs is on this street. When visiting the Reeperbahn, you'll find yourself in a city district called St. Pauli. Cool and hip area in and of itself, it is also home to many iconic landmarks.
One that's truly hard to miss is the Hochbunker, or St. Pauli bunker. This enormous anti-aircraft bunker once saved the lives of 25,000 people who hid in it during air raids. Now it's a lively area of local organizing and activity.
Closer to the river in St. Pauli, we'll find the Landungsbrücken piers and the floating dock. It is not only a busy dock for local ferries, but also a perfect place to taste Hamburg's iconic snack, the fish sandwich.
Along the riverbank in St. Pauli, one more location is worth mentioning: the Park Fiction.
With its characteristic plastic palm trees, psychedelic attractions, and an inviting atmosphere, Park Fiction, also known as Gezi Park Hamburg, is important to the city as a starting point and a success story of an important social movement. Because one can truly not speak about the cool parts of Hamburg without mentioning the Right to the City initiative. Without it, many of the cool areas we're talking about today would not exist.
And another Right to the City success story is just about 20 minutes away from St. Pauli. Acknowledged by UNESCO as an example of cultural diversity, the Gängeviertel is a perfect example of what the Right to the City initiative accomplished in Hamburg.
The area used to be a workers' quarter, and by the mid-20th century, one of the last such complexes left standing. When a threat of demolition arose in 2009, local activists occupied the area and protested. With the public largely on the side of the protesters, the city was forced to reconsider its plans and bought Gängeviertel back with the goal to renovate instead of demolish.
So, there you have it, a historical site in its own right. Also a good opportunity to peek behind the curtains of Hamburg's artsy scene.
Name-checking Hamburg's hip neighborhoods, we can't forget about the so-called countercultural center of the city, Schanzenviertel. Also known as the less touristy alternative to the Reeperbahn, this is where locals go for their drinks and social life.
Described as an eyesore by some and a symbol of freedom by others, Rotterdam is a political and cultural center as well as probably the most famous squat in Hamburg.
Maintaining its occupied and non-commercial status since 1989, it houses various events, a bicycle repair shop, a rehearsal room for musicians, and is often a starting point for leftist demonstrations and protests. Among the cool neighborhoods, there's also Karolinenviertel, a mecca for alternative shopping. Young fashion designers open their boutiques here next to vintage shops and record stores.
So whether that's getting some presents for your loved ones or just some retail therapy for yourself, Karolinenviertel shouldn't be missing from your Hamburg itinerary.
Hamburg might just have too many cool districts to fit in here. Around the train station there's St. Georg, a colorful quarter full of a wide array of people. What is easy to grasp from the high density of pride flags, St. Georg, especially the area around its main street, is also known as the gay district of Hamburg. But our last entry is a mix between historical and cool, where you can pretend to be a sailor of the past or a knick-knack collector of today.
Whether you find yourself here after a night of partying or wake up early just to be here, the Fischmarkt, legendary fish market, shouldn't be missing from your itinerary on an early Sunday morning. Beloved by night owls and early birds alike, the fish market is a perfect place to get a fish sandwich, a cup of coffee, and maybe some souvenirs to bring home.
Despite its name, the fish market trades in absolutely everything, not just fish. If you're interested in a snack and live music at 7 in the morning, the fish market is the place to be. In spite of all the people-centered gems we've covered so far, Hamburg's fourth phase cannot be forgotten when you're in the city. Lake Alster dominates the city center and is virtually unmissable. Same with Hamburg's many parks and green spaces. So if you're ready to escape the hustle and bustle of the city, you don't have to go far. The Alster Lake is a center point of the city. A bridge divides it into two parts, the inner lake, Binnenalster, and outer lake, Außer Alster. Außer Alster is a mecca for water sport enthusiasts. Whether that's simple paddle boating, canoeing, kayaking, stand-up paddleboarding, or even sailing without the need of a license, everyone can find something on the water they'll enjoy. But it's not just the lake. Hamburg also has a plethora of city parks and green spaces.
When you're ready to escape the hustle and bustle of the city, visit the park Planten und Blumen, take a walk through the greenery, or visit the rose garden with over 300 types of roses. Or take a moment to just breathe in the serene Japanese garden.
Situated conveniently close to the city center, the Planten und Blumen Park offers a wide variety of lush sceneries as well as leisure opportunities. Perfect for a chill break surrounded by nature. Then, combine the cool with nature and take advantage of Hamburg's network of city bikes. Not only are they ideal for exploring some of the quirky neighborhoods we mentioned earlier, but they are perfect for a relaxed ride along the water. Whether that's going along the Alster or exploring further to find the city's river beaches. The Elbstrand is a local's favorite and a perfect spot for a break.
The Elbstrand is locals' favorite. Get yourself a drink, a snack, or both.
And remember, once you're done with your beachy activities, you can simply return the bike at the jetty and take a public ferry back to the center. So, wow, this is Hamburg. We've barely scratched the surface, and this video is already a little too long. Guess you're just gonna have to come to Hamburg yourself to experience all four faces of the city for yourself. And what a better way to see Hamburg and Germany than on a trip that's fully tailored to your preferences by local experts. Leave the planning to us and focus on experiencing the moment on your JayWay travel trip to Germany. Start planning today by clicking the link in description. Don't forget to subscribe to be notified about any new videos, click the like button, and we'll see you next time!